Hello, I'm David Shepherd. I'd like to personally thank you for subscribing to my app and also formally welcome you to what is a very, very exciting project for me, A Date with Excellence, live from David's house. A core premise, a core principle of neurolinguistic programming, NLP, is modeling. And modeling is the concept that if one person can get a particular result, then anyone can get the same result if they know how. And NLP was basically created by modeling true models of excellence. It started out with modeling people like Milton Erickson, Virginia Satir, and Fritz Perl. Also then modeling presenters and speakers like JFK and Martin Luther King. Then modeling top performing salespeople in California real estate. And I thought, over the last, 27 years, I've had the opportunity of meeting and working with some true world-class models of excellence. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to be able to sit these people down in a relaxed atmosphere where I can actually get to do a modeling interview with them and then share that with you through the I'm David Shepherd app. So that's what we're doing. And the first episode of Live from David's House, A Date with Excellence, is coming out in November 2017. And then there'll be a new episode each month. But what I wanted to share with you now is a few of the principles around modeling so that you understand how the process works, why I'm asking the questions that I'm asking, and also what you can then do with that information that you're gathering from watching the video. So there are taken as being three main elements to NLP. There's the internal state that the person is in when they're doing a particular behavior. There's the internal process, how they are thinking, what kind of pictures they have in their mind, what kind of sounds, what kind of feelings, what kind of self-talk. And then their external behavior, what they're doing with their physiology, how they're standing, sitting, moving, and most importantly, how they're breathing. And then there's these three elements, almost like a wheel, that is traveling through time. As in, how do they actually take this wheel? How does the state change? How does their behavior change? How does their internal process change as they go through the particular process, go through the particular behavior? We can link this to the format system, which is one of the things that I do in the Live from David's House interviews, because this really makes modeling a lot easier to understand. In that what we have is that the internal state determines why the person does what they do. This is where their motivation comes from. We could have the absolute best process. We could know exactly what to do with our body, but if we don't actually have the drive, the motivation, the energy, emotional energy to do it, then it doesn't matter. So this is one of the most important pieces. So that's why the person does what they do. The internal process is how they do it, how they structure their thinking moment by moment to be able to generate the behaviors here, the external behavior, what they're doing with their body, how they're moving, standing, sitting, and breathing, etc. And then over time answers the question, what if? So what do you do if this happens? What do you do if this happens? What do you do if that doesn't happen? So the what if question actually answers the question, how do you take feedback? How do you work with the feedback as you go through the process to modify what you're doing over time? This is actually one of the most ignored areas of NLP modeling and could be one of the most important. We can then tie it into what I've done is a modified version of Robert Dilts's neurological levels here, which is obviously what we're interested in with modeling is being able to replicate the same results as a speaker, as a presenter, as a salesperson, as an entrepreneur, replicate the same kind of results as a world-class model of excellence in relationships, in parenting, in health and fitness, whatever those may be. And what we've got is that the results are created by the person's behaviors. And the behaviors are generated by what we call in NLP the person's strategies, the order and sequence of internal and external representations that lead to a particular result, consistently lead to a particular result. This is the area of how, and one of the areas which is most focused on in NLP modeling, though not necessarily the most important, because underlying the strategies are the person's beliefs. You can think of beliefs as being like on-off switches. Do they empower the strategies or disempower the strategies? As in, if the person's got excellent strategies, but they've got limiting beliefs as to whether they can do it or not, we're not going to be able to replicate the behavior. Then lower in the values, we have, this is what creates the emotional drive, the motivation. It determines how the person spends their time. And values come in a number of different directions. Things that is important for the person to move away from and things that's important for the person to move towards. Then at an even deeper level, we have what we'd call identity beliefs, who the person believes they are at the deepest level. And with some of my interviewees, some of my models of excellence, what they actually start talking about is their life purpose. What they are doing is actually being driven and in alignment with their life purpose, which keeps them going, has them perform at the highest level day in, day out, year in, year out. So if we were to relate it to the format system and the major elements of NLP, then the beliefs, the values, the identity, and the purpose determine why the person does what they do. The strategies is how they do it, and their behaviors and the results are the what we can actually see on the outside. So I'm going to be asking all of these questions of our models of excellence during the Live from David's House, A Date with Excellence process. Also, what I'm going to ask each of my models of excellence is I'm going to ask them, for a little bit of their story. How did they start out and where did they get to now? What was the process? What happened? What were the reference experiences that they had, both negative and positive, that have led them to be where they are now? Because this is information that we wouldn't normally get to hear about from these people. And then also the more formal modeling process. We're going to start out with our first guest, a very good friend of mine, Steve McDermott. Steve has been voted European Motivational Speaker of the Year 3 times out of the last 5 years. So I think we can truly say that he's a true model of excellence. And what we'll be able to do from that is actually be able to capture some of those real key resources that will enable us to be as good a presenter and a speaker as Steve is. I really hope you enjoy Live from David's House, A Date with Excellence, as it rolls out over the months and becomes an absolutely phenomenal world-class resource of modeling in NLP.